Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 24th, 2023 at approximately 4:31 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this world a better place for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life that I talk about are literally the same philosophies I personally live by. Now, I've offered these tools to literally thousands of people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending entirely on their own personal efforts. Now, with that in mind, it is up to you whether or not you put tools to work. The best tools in the world are absolutely useless if they're not picked up. Well, that depends entirely on the tool. I mean, you think about it, a road patch, if you pick it up, it becomes useless. You leave it on the ground, it works. Now, what do we got here? Football Cat is in with the gold. How you doing, Football? Glad you could join us. Amy Tonga comes in with the silver, and I do presume your day's been going rather well. Then we have in with the bronze. We have Joe Stewart. How you doing? Glad you can join us. Everything is doing well for you at this point, I hope. And then we have Philip Blair is in with honorable mention. And yes, let's include everybody, shall we? Now remember, one thing we got to remember is there are very different ways of the different races looking at each other. Now, I decided today we were just going to take a look at literally what is the paranormal. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Think about it this way. The paranormal is literally anything that is sort of normal. If it isn't in the mainstream world, it's paranormal. Therefore, now, everything that is not in mainstream is paranormal. But, like, for instance, aliens are paranormal. Every alien is a paranormal entity in a lot of ways. But every paranormal thing going on is not an alien. Ghosts fit under the paranormal. Metaphysics such as psychic phenomenon, astral travel, mediumship, psychometry. Psychometry being the ability to pick up on psychic emanations off of a physical object. Ghosts, cryptids. You get the picture? All of these things are different parts of the paranormal. Now, what do we got here? And we have Celeste Sophia. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Well, let me point something out just to put matters in perspective. Have you ever met a functional psychic? Have you ever met an accelerated a person that has the capacity to accelerate their own healing? Have you ever met somebody that suffers from a severe case of deja vu, where they will tell you something is going to happen and then they run into it right in front of you? Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever met somebody that has felt something, yourself included, walking by a graveside that you couldn't chalk up to your standard senses? All of these things are paranormal. Now, I will tell you right off the bat, and I do agree, Philip, we have never met face to face. The fact that I have walked out of a morgue makes me, by definition, paranormal. The fact that when I was a child, I was virtually colorblind and now am not, again, falls into the paranormal category. Well, I won't argue with that. And here's the thing. Okay, every psychic you've met would self-classify as dysfunctional. Well, here's the thing. I myself do not classify myself as dysfunctional. Borderline misanthropic, certainly borderline cynical. Maybe not so much a borderline. Okay, am I dysfunctional? No, I just do not function on the same level that other people do. And there are many people I've run into that fall into that. Where are we here? Joe Stewart is going, I had a dream last night, and my grandma was in my dream. My mom's mom. And my grandma died on December 29th, 2015. Bonus! Now, don't forget there, Joe, when we're talking about people that have passed away, it sometimes takes a little bit of time for them to figure out how to make contact. Okay, but that definitely falls under the category of a little bit on the abnormal side. See, the neat little part of it is that when we are taking a look at this world, understand the whole idea of looking to the paranormal, the way that, quite frankly, spirituality evolved was by people figuring out how to explain the inexplicable until such time as science could figure it out. Okay, this is why they are so tightly intermixed or whatever word you choose to use. The point being, when we are looking at the paranormal, 90% of the conversations that go on in here take the paranormal world and go, okay, this is what we're living in. Now, how do we function and how do we make that accessible to the physical world? Tony D, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I don't think I've seen you in here in a while, but I am glad you dropped in. Now, the reality of it is I hear a lot of people going, oh, I'm a ghost hunter. Well, realistically, how hard can it be to catch ghosts? Well, great movie series on that one called Ghostbusters. Okay, but it's amazing how many people on TV go, oh, we're going Ghostbusters, so we're going to go out and we're going to chase ghosts. And they hear a spooky sound and they go running out of the room. How do you qualify that as a scientific approach? Now, I do know a few people that are definitely paranormal investigators, but if you're going to be a true paranormal investigator, you've got to go at it with an open mind. Where are we here? I'm just scrolling back periodically to make sure that I stay on top of things. Not guaranteeing it, but not guaranteeing that I'll be able to stay on top of it. But the way I look at it is this. We talk about the paranormal world, but what, pray tell, is it? And does it have a functional place in the physical world? In my opinion, the answer is definitively yes. Okay, now let me ask you this. You've got your hand, and we've got a plastic container. Now, when I take this and pop it there, okay, this is obviously you're manipulating the plastic lid. Pringles lid, by the way. Here's the thing. Ultimately, whether you've got your hand here or your hand or the plastic right against it, or the plastic is over here, you are still looking one molecule to the next, which is why some people can feel things beyond the reach of their hand. This is why many people, when they lose a limb, still feel that limb right there. They still feel the pain of it. These are all examples of paranormal phenomenon, things that defy the standard logical approach. Okay, this said, we do have to remember that it is critical that we look at the paranormal world with a logical approach. See what you can quantify, see what you can try, what you can corroborate, and then look from there. But eliminate all of the possibilities of the rational possibilities first. And I have just noticed Chad Smith came into the room. So where do we go here? All the way down here, and we grab this little link and come back to here, and we pop this in. Now this is the link to Chad Smith's archives. And again, guys, drop in, take a look at them. If you see if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're hearing, give them a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. It is by sharing these different viewpoints and these different, if you will, information packs that have been corroborated by many different people as far as looking at it going, I've seen that before, or I've heard that before from somebody else. When you get enough people seeing the same thing, reporting the same thing, even if it seems to be a little abnormal, it is still the reality. I like the way that Spock put it in the original Star Trek. Don't ask me the episode. Okay, but in the original Star Trek, Spock said, when you eliminate all possible answers, regardless of how illogical the remaining answer is, that's the question, or that's the answer. Okay, in other words, do your best to explain whatever you're experiencing in as logical a fashion as you can. If you can, it's a logical problem. If you cannot, do not just write it off and go, I can't explain it, therefore it doesn't exist. Because let me ask you this. Okay, when you think about it, have you ever read a book, read or watched a movie, listened to a audio recording that talked about the world ending? Okay, everybody talks about it. Everybody writes books about it. People write scripts about it. And the belief seems to be, thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it. Well, if that's the case, our world would be at an end already, long ago. Not only by my hand, by the way. Okay, because you got to remember, I've written a series of novels based on the world going to heck in a handbasket multiple times over. Okay, now you can, once the world's destroyed, sorry guys, can't undestroy the world unless we're talking a movie or a book, at which point you can put it back together like the Knights could with Humpty Dumpty. Okay. Now I get a kick out of that particular nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. How in tarnation did the horses do a thing with that egg? Okay, that's the question I got for you. Now let's scroll down a bit here. Phil's just going, I've been on a break. I nearly closed the doors on social media the other day. Here's the thing, Philip. We're talking about the propaganda war against the public. The propaganda war against the public was started by the public. Okay, it wasn't started by the major media, because it wasn't started by the government. Because let's remember, government personnel, media personnel, the so-called elite, the wealthiest of the wealthy, the religious leaders. All of these people are member of the public. Okay, before they ever got in any sort of an office, any sort of, if you will, calling. They were individuals with their own mindsets. And yes, some of them bought into the negative rhetoric. Absolutely. Some people buy into really stupid rhetoric, if you ask me. But when we are talking about the paranormal world, oddly enough, the ability for somebody to sit in front of a camera and tell you, go out and buy this incredibly expensive car that you can't afford, and that they talk you into it. This is a type of what some people would call a paranormal ability. The ability to mesmerize or hypnotize somebody through repeatedly saying the same thing, or repeatedly going after and repeatedly approaching things by going, hey, isn't this a great idea? The idea in sales is the more yeses you can get during your presentation, the easier it is to close the deal. So I mean, I look at this. Crystal J, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The unfortunate part here is there's a lot of negative stuff going on in the world today. Okay, there's a staggering amount of it. And we can focus on that. The reality of it is that if we focus on the negative things and we focus on all of that and go, it's all paranormal, something that I do feel should be pointed out. If you're claiming to work in the paranormal field, would you do me a favor? And yes, I did say claiming, because so many of you, and I don't mean the people necessarily in this room, but so many so-called paranormal researchers that go, I studied the paranormal, and yet the moment somebody comes to them and says, I think I've had a paranormal experience, whether it's run into a ghost, sense a disembodied spirit, feel like you're being watched on an astral plane, been abducted. The moment somebody says that, so many so-called researchers go, oh no, you didn't have that experience. You're just looking for attention. If you're going to if you're going to claim to work in the paranormal field in any capacity, do not write people off. Do not write people's experience off based on your own lack of absolute proof that they saw it. Remember, lack of proof of experience is not proof of non-experience. Okay, this is the thing we have to understand. One of the things we have to take a look at. Uh-oh, what do we got? Oh, not a problem there, Philip. The only thing you gotta remember with the caps is if you're asking a question, really important to put the caps in there so I can find the thing, so I actually spot it. Going back and tracking it down is not likely to happen. I'm not good at it. Okay. And I'd love to say I am good at it, but why lie to you? This is why I did the video the other day. But when we take a look at the bullying that I see going on, and I still call it bullying. If somebody comes to me and says, comes to one of you guys and says, oh, I think I may have been abducted, absolutely ask questions to narrow down their experience, because they may have experienced something that has a logical explanation. But flat out telling them they didn't experience it, Unless you are them, you're not going to know. This is why I will not tell people when they report something in here, I will not tell them, no, you're full of it. I will ask questions. I mean, I saw a video the other day about somebody. Okay, and it was brilliant. The individual is labeled as being one of the brightest men in the world. Okay, one of the most successful. And yet, they turned around and said this. Now let me ask you. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what I spotted. I'm going to ask you where the problem was. The individual claimed that using their program, you will make a minimum of $1,000 a day. Now they went on to say, this means that in a week you'll make $7,000. In a month you will make $27,000. Now where's the flaw? Anybody spot the flaw in that one? And yes, I will give you a couple of moments to come up with an answer. You know, and by the way, I wonder. Let me see something here. Where are we? Opening up another tab just so I can get a look at something. There we are. Go there and go to my channel, because I think I've answered all of these, but I do want to double check. Going down here. Anytime you're ready to pop in, that'd be nice. Okay. Whoops. There we are. Comments. I get a kick out of this. Now, bear in mind, okay, let's just take a peek at something here. Scroll that down. Yeah, that'd be the one, football. That'd be the one right there. You know, I get a kick out of this. I'm looking at my video here. Okay, at my dashboard. Now, according to my dashboard, okay, I've got 575 subscribers. And yet, in my comments, this individual has gone, SEO is not done in your video, for which there are no views, no comments, or subscribers on your channel. Really? Cute idea. I'm looking at 575 now. Somebody feed me a load. You know, the reality of it from my standpoint is there is a lot of real bad responding, bad recording, bad information out there. Paranormal is, like I said, anything that is outside the normal field. Well, the rhetoric and the misleading information that is, the showing up on the internet has unfortunately become very normal. Now, let's just delete that, because I'm not delete, but close it down and get back to what I was looking at. Here we go. And then, I'm just going back up here. What do we got? The neat part about it, and again, where I see there's a little bit of a conversation starting up here on past lives. Thus far, in all of my research, in all of the past lives I remember, or that other people have looked into for me, not a single one has come up as female. Okay. And maybe this is why I look at everybody identically the same. I don't see a difference as far as the way to treat people. Now, that in and of itself puts me in the category of being abnormal. Okay, I got all this stuff that I don't require. Yes, I have a tendency of puttering around. We all know that. The thing we have to remember here is this. If you're going to look at this world, well, I'm certainly not going to say it's not possible. I will tell you though, Philip, like Philip's just saying, there's one famous Tibetan Buddhist teacher who, according to tradition, incarnated as male and female. Two separate bodies, but one contiguous, fully interconnected soul. Is it possible? Absolutely. Have I ever personally run into it? Personally, no. Actually, it really is good. I figured I'd take a change of pace, from the coffee. I already had 3 pots of coffee today, so I figured I'd grab something a little colder. One thing I will tell you, okay, do not spill this on your keyboard. It does not do your keyboard a lot of good. Of course, throwing a coffee cup at it doesn't do it any good either. But when we look at the paranormal world, you got to remember, if you're going to look at the paranormal world, do so with an open mind. Okay, paranormal, like I said, is anything that does not fit in the normal category of things. Okay, oh, by the way, not to do with paranormal, just something I'm very happy about. We upgraded our weight again. When I started off, I was looking at two and a half pound weights on this bar. Okay, these are 10-pound weights, which I'm quite happy with. Another 5 pounds to add before the end of the year, and I'll be very content with myself. Because when I started working with the weights, I made a commitment to myself to get to the point of being able to curl 25 by the end of the year. Now, I'm just barely over a month away from it. This is just strictly a focal point and going, this is what I'm doing. So am I getting close to what I was aiming for? Certainly. The same applies to the idea of building an empire, of getting my finances back on track, of reassessing my own ability, my own insights, starting to work on a number of things. Let's get that out of the way. Whoa, that will go over poorly. Put that back over there. That's not what I needed. Also known as the garbage bag I got to go through. But when we look at the paranormal world, the ability to visualize and see your world taking and changing direction is beyond the norm. Okay, beyond the accepted norm. People talk about the imagination. I will tell you this. Your imagination is literally the gateway to your higher senses. Okay, it is literally the way to open that door. And yes, we are going to be looking at opening those doors and beginning. As a matter of fact, where are we here? Get that up out of my face. We are looking at what is today? Today is Friday. Oh, okay. What do we got? Philip goes, could your female past lives be blocked to prevent you from accessing sensitive awareness? Too much at once can overload and shut down. A teacher may say, I'll teach you that when you're ready. Technically, Philip, because of the way you asked it, the answer is yes, it could be. Okay. Does it feel like that is the case in my case? From my standpoint, no. Okay. I certainly am looking at the world differently. But the reality is, could it have technically been shut down? Yes. Okay. Let me ask you this. From your instinct, from your standpoint, does it feel in your eyes like it's possible that I have stuck to the male genome all this time? Okay. Clearly, I understand the way that some people think. Where are we here? Oh, Joe is going. Okay. Yeah, football, you may well be blocking yourself out. Many people that are very empathic will literally block it out as best they can and thereby feel very disconnected. But let me ask you this. When somebody gets hurt, do you ever feel sorry about it? Do you ever feel sympathetic towards them? And I mean, do you ever feel the pain they may be going through? Can you relate to the disappointment that somebody else is going through? Okay, bear in mind, if you're not empathic, feeling what they're going through is going to be a bit of a problem, and therefore relating isn't going to happen. Okay, and do understand, relating to something is not a logical thought. Derek, I would go back up, and apparently not. And no, in all fairness, Derek, I'm looking at this and I'm not seeing anything. And I do not understand. Like, I really don't understand why consistently we have troubles getting your comments through. This said, Derek, where is it? This said, I know you've got this number of mine. Send the question here, and I will certainly answer it as soon as I can when it comes in, because I know you've got this. But for some weird reason, a lot of the time when you try and ask a question, it doesn't show up. And I really don't get why, but we are talking technology here. Yeah, I'm scanning all the way up here, Derek, and I'm not seeing anything written by you until you got down to did you read and did you see what I wrote? Oh, I've got mine on live chat right now. Problem is, it's not showing up. Like, I know mine keeps swapping back to top chat. And was something I discovered a while ago. But That being said, what do I got here? Wait, come on. Cowie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And we have Tales of Sonic Voyage also joining us. But yeah, in all fairness, Derek, I'm not trying to ignore your questions. They're just not showing up here. I'm on live chat on both of my screens, and it's just not showing up. But when we start taking a look at the way the paranormal world works, it just means it's outside the standard realm. It's outside of what makes generally accepted logical sense. This doesn't mean that it isn't a viable option. It means that paranormal is simply sort of normal or outside the normal realm. Yo, Robert White, how you doing? I hope you're feeling better. I know you've been going through a rougher time than many people have, but I also know, and pardon the pun, it's not meant anything other than what I say, but it is my hope that you do land back on your feet in as short a time as possible. You know, Callie, yeah, Callie goes, so third dimensional mortals can't communicate with fifth dimensional spirits. Bingo. Because third dimension and fifth dimension are completely separated until you get back to the hub. And that doesn't happen until you've finished your journey here on the third dimension. At that point, you've got the open doorway where you can work through it and then take your pick where you're heading. Okay. But is it possible to communicate with another dimension? From everything I've ever borne witness to, the answer is no. Okay. Because it's kind of like getting your abacus to talk to a holographic computer, or for that matter, getting an abacus to communicate with an IBM. Okay, I can see there being a couple of real big hiccups here. And oddly enough, Derek, right now, I'm seeing what's coming through. You know, the nice part about it is when we start looking, where are we here? Oh, that is fantastic news, Robert. So, just because I'm curious, clearly you're going to be walking with a cane for a bit. But in time, have they told you they figure you'll be able to walk without any sort of cane, just using your own standard balance? Yeah. Yeah. You're probably, I mean, to start with, like my brother used to work rehab for quadriplegics, for amputees, you name it. And it is amazing what can be relearned. You know, it just boils down to literally rebuilding that kind of strength. Now, obviously, there are some adjustments you're just going to have to work with. Oh, here we go. Phil's just adding in here that Darwin used the word sympathy when scientifically speaking, he was describing empathy. Okay, and here's the thing: having sympathy is one aspect. Having empathy means you physically feel it here. Okay, most people, they're just feeling sympathy because somebody lost a loved one. Okay, and this is obvious. This is very, very profound. Um, it's very profound when a child loses a parent or a parent loses a child. Okay, you can have sympathy for that person without feeling the heartache. Okay, there is a very big difference to it, and quite often empathy will result in an overwhelming an overwhelming feeling. Yeah, and all you got to keep in mind is just a thought, Robert. Okay, all you got to keep in mind is if one person can do it, so can you. Or for that matter, if nobody can do it, you can. Okay, now I will tell you, much as I've seen regeneration work, I wouldn't be putting a whole lot of concern into it. But learning how to walk without actually utilizing a cane is a doable thing. It boils down to learning how to feel with the remaining parts of your body. Now, let's understand something. I can feel my pulse at the end of my hair. Okay, now clearly we know that the hair does not have blood running through it, or literally in a hairdresser's, we would be having a literal bloodbath when people went to get their hair cut. Okay, but all you have to do when we're talking about the paranormal, anything that defies modern medical expectations or modern medical experiences, okay, falls under the category of being paranormal because it's outside of the normal realm. Now, I am developing courses and what have you to start teaching people how to access their higher senses and how to work with it a little bit more effectively. The way I figure it, I've been doing it all my life, so I might just as well put it to use. Okay, and this is what we have to realize. Yeah, that is, Phil's just going to Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Yeah, we would have one heck of a mess. Okay, and besides that, picture the number of people whose hair breaks. We wouldn't be seeing blondes, brunettes, redheads. You'd be seeing a lot of people with red hair because if you had blood running through your hair when you just simply pulled a little bit of hair out or it just broke off, you'd be bleeding all over the place. And if you think getting sweat in your eyes is a pain in the neck, see how much damage or how much of a pain it is to end up with blood in your eyes. Although it would eliminate the question of hemophiliacs ever having to worry about getting to old age. And some of them do get there. What do we got going on here? If I understood more about how the computers work, this would be great. But frankly, I don't. Not yet. Okay. But this is why I said I'm working on things right now and keeping myself busy, getting things wrapped up and out of the way so that I can get rid of a lot of the excess junk that I've got. Okay, but the paranormal world, let's look at the alien side of it. So many alien researchers, people that say, oh, I'm a UFO investigator. But the moment people open up and say, I think I may have been abducted, Oh no, you couldn't have been. You're just looking for attention. Okay. And people can, I have no doubt that some of the people out there are looking at me going, oh, you're completely off your nut. And you're an absolute basket case. You're full of whatever. I have no doubt people are saying that. Am I worried about it? No, because I keep running through my head this way. If this is my imagination, the fact that it's being corroborated by so many other people kind of eliminates that. Phil goes, I was once mischarged as a redhead in the emergency room because of bloody hair. I don't remember the emergency room, but I remember the charge. This was after a car crash. Yeah, that would do it. That would absolutely do it. You get into a car crash. Hopefully, the damage was more blood than actual damage. I know head wounds from practical experience bleed so bad. How bad do they bleed? Well, they bleed so bad that, you like when I cut my head open, I was fine feeling just a little bit of pain. When I think I was 9 when I did it. Put my hand here and I'm just rocking back and forth. Really, I'm 9 years old. I was whining in pain. Then I pulled my hand down. It was blood all over my hand. And boy, did I let out a wail. You would have thought the end of the world had come. Okay, I'm thinking when the end of the world gets here, we should have a party. But, I'm a little twisted. But, I look at the paranormal field, what you guys call paranormal, I call life. Okay, the idea of seeing somebody walk through my wall and just pass through the house just plain normal. Yeah, no doubt there. Yeah, Phil goes, yeah, bled bad enough for people to think you're a redhead. I'm glad it's passed. Yeah, no doubt. And just think, you cannot go back and change the fact that happened. But you don't have to drag the anxiety and the pain with you. That's where people make the mistake, the miscalculation in a lot of cases, where they're turning around going, oh, I'm just going to ignore it and put it, and just say it didn't happen, or I'm going to change the way I'm going to change that event. No, you're not. But you can change the way you look at the world. Okay. And what is this? As we know, when my other half contacts me, I do tend to let them know that I did get the message. Because for me, family is number one. Now, granted, I am not married to my other half yet, but the intention is still the same. I do have every intention, assuming, of course, she says yes, of asking her when she gets up here. Okay, what do we got here? Philip, I'm going to have to ask why, like you've asked here, was it a licensed wall walker or a rogue wall walker? I gotta ask what a wall walker is. See, I'm a little bit, that particular term. I know what I've seen as a wall walker. I usually look at that as a thief. Pretty dexterous one too. Either that or somebody versed in parkour. Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Philip. Yeah, like I've dealt with wall walkers all my life, also known as ghosts. Okay. Now there are some entities that can vibrate fast enough to phase through a wall. This is not dimensional travel. This is vibratory maneuverability. Joseph's going, I'm watching Nikki Jacobs' show from yesterday. It's a 7-hour, 20-minute show. She's very good and explicit in what she does. Shout out to her. And why don't we do that? I just got to do something here for you, Joe. Well, technically, it's actually for her. Go to this. And let us go. This is the link to Nikki's show. So absolutely, drop in, listen to what she has to say. If you like what she's got to say, give her a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. And then share the daylights out of the thing. And there it is right there, Joe. Thanks so much for that. The neat part about it is there's a lot of different people dealing with the paranormal subjects. Okay. And, I am definitively not the best of the best. Okay. But with that in mind, I'm certainly not going to tell you other people don't know what they're talking about. I will question when things are said. Okay. Not the least of which was there was a guy that I ran into a while back that said he was a naturally conceived half-breed Anunnaki human. This is not physically possible. Okay. Given that humans are somewhere between 5.5 and 6 feet tall. And the Anunnaki, the small, fully mature ones, are 15 feet tall. Okay, not physically possible to have a natural conception. Absolutely correct, Robert. I've heard people claim they are experts. And usually most of the time when I see somebody claiming they're an expert, within the first couple of minutes of hearing that comment, they trip and land right on their nose. Now, I've flat out told people I am no expert. Am I a specialist? Certainly. But this does not make me the only authority at all. Okay. Do I trust my own instincts? Absolutely. Okay. Am I going to turn around and say I'm the only way you can get information? Not a prayer. But I am the only way you're going to get information from me. Okay, it's just one of these things that isn't going to go the other direction. What is half-breed on donkey human? Okay, first and foremost, I don't know what the actual term would be. Okay, I know a few people that behave like the donkeys back into things, but yeah, if you were, I know they exist. There are such things as deer. I believe D&D and the Dungeons and Dragons term is a hipsil, which is a deer and a human. Like it looks cross between. Centaurs, by the way, are not half-breed human and horse. They are a race unto themselves. Okay, now I have no doubt that there are centaur-like individuals that look half human. Okay, half human, half donkey. Have I ever personally come across them? No. Okay, does not mean they don't exist. just means I haven't personally come across them. By the way, in case you're wondering why I keep standing up, it's because I found my leg was really screwing things up for me. Okay, by sitting for way too long. Where are we here? Yeah, Phil goes, deer and human makes me think of Wendigo. Wendigo is a whole different ballgame. And Wendigo is very real and very nasty. And I don't know if you want to call that a different race or a cryptid or what the story is. I can tell you that it's not somebody you want to tick off. But then again, you don't want to tick off a corridor, right? A cordon either. You know, from my standpoint, what football is going, would you be scared in a bear encounter? I can tell you from personal experience, the answer is no. Okay. Now, am I stupid enough to walk up to a bear? You know, if I run into one? No, not at all. But where I grew up, we had bears at the dump all the time. They never bothered me. Am I aware of bears' personalities? Certainly, and rest assured, they're not like Yogi. You know, that's the neat part about it. But do I fear them? Not at all. I'm just not dumb enough to walk up to them. Where, pray tell, does that go? I lost something a while ago, and I don't know where it ended up. But I'll have to find that later. So, curiosity, Emmy, did you catch up to the thing? To the black bear, I mean. Thoughts are a little bit tricky. Football. Can I anticipate what they're feeling, what their intentions are? Absolutely. Do I actually talk to bears? I'm not around them enough to do so. Okay, but do I understand the way that they behave and their overall mentality? Certainly. And rest assured, bears are not by nature a real violent race. Yeah, that might have been a lucky thing. Buddy of mine actually befriended a grizzly bear when he was young. You know, which was kind of a neat little encounter on his part. Wonder what the heck happened to that. You know, I mean, I'm looking at this whole thing, and again, somebody's ability to interact with nature in a more intuitive fashion than the average person becomes a paranormal individual. Okay, because they've got a connection that is beyond normal. Okay, but remember, the fact that there is a paranormal world out there, a world that defies standard logic, the fact that it is out there. Oh, it can be the funny thing there. I used to go to the zoo when I was anywhere near it. You are right. There are a lot of really sad thoughts out there. You know, as far as the animals go. That being said, their sad thoughts are not destructive, and they're certainly not with a great deal of animosity. Some of them I've actually had the pleasure of calming down because they thought they were being held against their will. Okay, which they were. But the thing is, some of the animals that end up in zoos or in shelters, okay, some of those animals are there because they've been hurt, okay, or because they've been left orphaned. You know, my mom left me. You know, my mom went out one day and just never came back. And there are animals that fight depression because their parent didn't come back. Well, more often than not, it turns out the reason a parent doesn't come back is because somebody killed it, which is not a nice thing for the child. And Philip, you're absolutely right. You know, Philip goes, one with nature is closer to one with thyself, is my understanding. Absolutely. Nathan, how you doing? I'll get back to that in just 10 seconds, Philip. Just looking for Nathan's link here. This is the link to Nathan's live stream. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. That would be really appreciated. Football. Football's asking, can animals take medication for depression? Honestly, they can, but more often than not, it literally boils down to coercing them into coming out into direct sunlight, which is a better cure for for mankind's medication than anything. But understand something about that. The vitamin D that the corporeal genome requires to make sure depression doesn't sit in a hurry is kind of like a photosynthetic reaction. You know, this is just the reality behind it. Okay, this is why getting people, animals, plants, whatever, out into the direct sunlight can be so good for their health. Okay, and this applies to humans as well, even if you're suffering from depression yourself. And yes, I've had bouts of it. I've had some pretty severe bouts of it, just never suicidally inclined. Of course, that might have to do with my healing rate. I don't feel like going through the pain again. Where are we here? Oh, there we go. Phil's just letting us know that the Prozac drug family, known as SSRIs, works on a brain chemistry so ancient it has the same effect on lobsters as humans. See, this is why I say modern medicine is a viable option in most cases. You know, for me personally, I very seldom touch the stuff. But that's for me personally. Okay. But understand that if modern medicine is working for you and you're using it, especially if you're on a prescription, stay on the thing. Okay. Certainly work to correct the problem because medication on the whole is a coping mechanism. For instance, when when I broke my arm, I did take a lot of painkillers. A lot of painkillers. Okay, but they were a coping mechanism until I could heal it far enough that the pain was no longer a major complication. You know, but if you're already working in the paranormal field, okay, keep in mind everybody has their own experiences, everybody has their own interpretations. The key when you're looking and working in the paranormal field is to realize you don't have to understand all of it by any functional stretch. You simply have to be willing to work with what you do understand. Now, I don't think I've got, okay. Saturday, I haven't figured out what the baseline topic is going to be for Saturday yet, as in for tomorrow. Wait a minute, what did I do here? Yeah, I haven't figured that out just yet. So if anybody's got a suggestion for tomorrow, that'd be great. If not, I'll figure something out before tomorrow. But it might be a last minute decision. Usually is by the feel of it, quite frankly. But I missed somebody coming in here. I must have. Scrolling back up here. Yeah, I see Emmy, you've said hi, Sonic, quite often, and I'm just going to go with hi, Sonic, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I will tell you, I'm not seeing Sonic listed in the chat room at all. Okay, but that may just be on my end. I really don't know. You know, the nice part about it, when we start looking at with everybody in here, you've all got your own preferences, your own belief structures to what you're willing to work with. The important factor is that everybody in this chat room is either here to gain extra knowledge or to share it with other people. Maybe you're just here to meet a couple of newcomers to the field. Okay. And just in case we've got people looking in or listening in, if you will, if you're in the chat room, you've got a question, even if it's not in the same field, come right out and ask the question. Put your questions in all caps, partial caps, or at least a wavy hand so I can spot it. Okay, these are just some of the things I'm looking and that I look at. I gotta quit getting up and turning around so quick. Because in case you hadn't told by the fact I stopped moving, that has more to do with me suffering from vertigo from moving around too much. But the reality is I will land on my feet one way or the other. You know, the neat part about the paranormal world is there's so much that is misunderstood, so much that we don't really have a solid connection with, that people are filling in the blanks on their own. But by making notes, by comparing what I'm seeing with people here and what I've personally gone through, I am finding some staggering similarities in people's outlook, in people's experiences leading to their current outlook. Okay, it's just something that we have to get used to. Yeah, Phil goes, some cats are prescribed antidepressants, but I'd see someone like the dog whisperer first. You know, the neat part about it is, you know, all of the people that are prescribing the medications, my experience has been rather remarkable because I find that most of the people doing the prescribing don't seem to check the side effects. And this said, when you prescribe medication, go to a pharmacist directly, one you trust. Go directly to a pharmacist and get them to explain specifically what the side effects and what the most common side effects are. Okay, if you both have time, you might want to look into the more normal ones. But the reality of it is, when we are looking at understand something here. Okay, we're talking paranormal. Did you realize that following a theological God or following think first, following a non-corporeal God is essentially, it is still using the paranormal to gain the insight. Okay, and this is why I say it is all very heavily connected. Oh, thank you so much, Emmy. Thank you so much for that, Emmy. I'm just getting told that now. Who are we here? Go way back up. When I take a look at things, I look at the world in which we live. Okay. And much as I see a lot of the paths being repeated that people followed in the past, I'm also finding that these are being perpetrated by the people in control positions now. Okay, and this is why I say if something does stand up, ask. Okay. The neat part about it, when we start looking at putting the past to rest, it's literally finding a way to keep it compartmentalized in your head so that it doesn't create an extra problem in your physical world. That's one of the biggest things that we have to look at. Got all that where it belongs. Wonder if that's what's causing my problem. Minor vertigo, that might be because of the fact I'm moving around way too much. But, or more to the point, I'm turning around way too much. But I'm looking at, like, what I've got here. This will be the first box to start going through. And again, it boils down to, what's that? Oh, okay. I'm going to be going through, just for your guys' edification, some old comics of mine that I'm going to be putting up for sale as soon as I figure out what they are. I just haven't opened the boxes because those at this point are going to be going. Football going is just saying, I feel like Cesar Millan uses his intuition to treat dogs and train humans. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think that's called getting drunk there, football. And I used to suffer from the same thing. There were times when it's a good thing the bar that I lived in had very narrow hallways. I could put my hands out both directions at full length and almost touch both walls. But it did mean that I could find my way down the hall. And the neat part about it, well, see, I'm looking at these different treatments that some of you guys are specifying the different doctors did. That is what is called true science. If they're using the same method and accomplishing or receiving the same results, that's what true science is. And this is why I say astrology itself is a true science. One of the things I am going to be tangling with the newsletter is a different detailed look at the different at astrology and the way it is calculated. Okay, I will keep it in basic terms so that as many people can understand it as end up getting to take a look at it. But it really does boil down to this. Take everything you know about the paranormal world, combine that with everything you know about the material world, and I do feel you'll come to understand that you're far further along the path to actually completing some of this work than what you might realize. Oh, there we are. Robert goes, are you listening to too much Kylie Minogue? Oh, no. And who was it now? There was another group that actually sang "You Spin Me Right Round." I forget what the title is or the name of the group. I keep wanting to say "Aha," and I don't think that's who it was. Yeah, see the song you're talking about there. I'm spinning around by Kylie Minogue. A former girlfriend of mine actually sang that as a tribute. Yeah, that's the one there, football. But I look at anything that does not fall in the standard run of the mill way of doing things as a paranormal event. Now, I know before the term was ever commonly used around me. Oh, look at that. Give me 10 seconds here, guys. Hello. Hello. Talk to me. Hey. Yeah, you caught me on air. What's up? Okay. Oh, I will give you a call back as soon as I'm done the feed. No problem. Okay, ciao. Sometimes work does call, and I kind of got to answer it. But like I told them, I'll give them a call back once my live feed is done. When I look at the world, what do we got here? See, I get a kick out of that. Philip's just saying, Journey into Self is a documentary with Carl Rogers. It always makes me feel, always makes me cry in a good way. It's from the late 60s. I will tell you, the last time I tried hunting around for something on the internet cost me 8 months of work. Okay, somewhere between 5 and 8. And, therefore, I don't go looking for a whole lot. Okay, I've come to the conclusion, not a real great idea. So when I tell people computers and I do not get along, Well, let me put it this way. I've gone back to the whole concept. Where did I put it? There it is. I've decided to go back in time in a sense. And I've turned back to writing everything by hand. And then I'll get my other half to transcribe it. Because using a double backup system, i.e., saving it to a zip drive and then saving it to the hard drive, apparently didn't work as well as I would have liked. But so be it. Yeah, the whirling dervishes there, Philip. Myself, I spin around too much. I just plain get dizzy. Okay, it used to be a lot worse. Nowadays, not quite so bad. But when I take a look at this world, anything that is not readily explainable in traditional logic thinking is paranormal. The fact that I understand some things better than many people do. And, call that tooting your own horn all you will. Okay, the reality is that's the way it seems, at least from my end. Now, what I don't have is the political correctness or the politically correct awareness to know when somebody is being facetious or somebody's goofing off. And I tend to go down the direction of going, okay, you're just not thinking. Not necessarily the best option. But when I look at the world, I go, okay, the traditional method of doing things hasn't worked. So I'm going back to the original steps. Okay, back to the understandings that I can gain, and I'll be doing part of this tonight in detail. Okay, and this is doing it in detail for me, by the way. There we go. Tonight, on top of everything else, because I still got finances I got to work out to make sure I get all the paperwork in place. But it has been way too long since I've done this. So tonight, after things settle down a little, I'm going to turn around and take a look at these. Now, these are just a tool of mine. Of course, they happen to be a tool of mine that I've been using since I was 16. I got them at 16, started using them professionally at 25. But I'm going to be doing a complete breakdown using tarot, okay, on my current life to find out what I'm overlooking, okay, as well as a rendition of a natal chart. Understand the astrological natal chart is a paranormal tool, but it is, in my opinion, true science as well. Oh, what did we get here? Oh, thank you so much there, Philip. I will see if I can find the time I can make the time, but I do appreciate you finding that for me. Yeah, that little guy is a pointer. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that little guy is a pointer. Now, I don't have any problem with it. I bought it because I like the shirt. The dog, that just came with it. Personally, I was much more of a cat person because cats are, they don't make as much noise. They don't require as much, for me, they don't require as much concentration. I have no idea. Clearly, it could be a very generic name, but it depends on who the guy was that pieced together the method of printing him in there. I'm pretty certain he had a name. I just have no idea. Okay. But that being said, I've got other shirts with the same emblem. I forget what company it is that makes them. Yeah, well, we got to remember football. Dogs have been domesticated. Okay. Cats have trained humans for the most part, which is a neat way of looking at it. But they never were domesticated. Yeah, as long as it wasn't Old Yeller. You know, Old Yeller got kind of the short end of the stick. Well, that's an interesting thought. I just don't know, Philip. LA Moon, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yo, I did like I mentioned the other day. I looked at my finances and the situation I was in, and figured I'd drop it in your guys' lap. Kind of therapeutic from my end, helped me get my head on straight. But now I'm going back to the old tools to really take a look at it. When I mean old tools, I don't mean older people that are dumber than fence posts. You know, but I am going to be doing a complete reassessment. And where is the list of people that I'm working on here? Okay, one. There's an assessment of both my birth date and my death date, as well as the company I have, as well as Inner Enterprises. So I'm going to be going through and really doing an in-depth assessment. I've got 4 natal charts that I'm working on right now because I've got to check out the timing to find out what kind of price I'm going to be looking at. But something we have to understand about natal charts that most people don't realize, and I've only heard it described this way once from a professional astrologer. Okay, and that is that a birth chart doesn't tell you what your life has to be like. It tells you what skills, what strengths, what weaknesses you have in your current life. You know, so I mean, basically it boils down to figuring out what your strong suits are. I wonder if I have what I'm looking for here. Way over here. Okay, that's only the one chart. I hope this is the other one. Bonus. Now remember I said I had things worked out. Okay. These two folders. Okay. This one, these are the charts I'm going to be doing by hand, so you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to be a little on the more detailed side. But I've got the basic chart and I just got to work out prices because I got to figure out how long it's going to take me to do them. The basic chart, which has in it, let's see, all 12 planets, the luminaries, 5 calculated points, 4 asteroids, and then, and I'll take a look at that. The more involved one is what is known as a dynamic chart. Okay, which has all the main planets, the 6 of the calculated points, 8 asteroids and other planets, and 5 stars. Okay, and yes, I actually have, where it comes to astrology, I actually have the locations and meanings of 720 different stars. So yeah, there's a lot of information out there. But this just tells you what the tools are you were born with. Where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. It's kind of like when you start going to the gym, they do an assessment, a physical assessment of you to find out what shape you're in when you get there. Okay. And this is why I said, where it comes to the gym. Now, I tried the normal route of going to a gym like most people. That worked well. Hey, let's not do that. But, oh, look at that. But now, I've taken that, and this is what I'm getting up to. Eventually, I'm going to have to get a new set, because this set only has so much weight. Okay. So I'm going to have to upgrade for next year, because I'm not stopping my exercise at this point. Finally got to a point where I'm quite content with it. What I'm not content with is what I just did. There we are. From my standpoint, it boils down to this. Anything that can make you feel better, more in control of yourself, more together, more in tune with yourself, is a good thing. Okay. Sometimes this means go to a trainer. Sometimes it means go to a doctor. Sometimes it just means talk to somebody that's done it before. Okay. I got my exercise routine from my grade 11 gym teacher. It has been since enhanced by my MMA friend and by a chap that lives nearby me, training for the Ironman. Now, I personally am not interested in becoming a massive, professional bodybuilder. Not interested at all. And besides that, picture me trying to pick up a lot of weight with a leg that pops of its own accord. But again, this boils down to this. I'm a firm believer that everything in your body, if your body creates it, your body can heal it. Meaning, when you think about it, if you're suffering from Alzheimer's, from Alzheimer's, lupus, epilepsy, cancer, all of these things can be healed. They can be cured. But do understand, this is a combination of modern medicine, naturopathic medicine, and spiritual training. It is not a question of just one to the exclusion of the rest of it. This is where the paranormal field and the scientific or logical field mesh together to create, or more to the point, to co-create a world that is better in your eyes. Now, do understand, this only works if you're following karmic law. If you're breaking karmic law, you can bet it's going to backfire on you. That's just the sad reality of it. Where are we here? Joe's just letting us know here. That unbelievable dream I had just last night that my grandma was in. It was not the only unbelievable dream she was in. And they're all written down in my dream journals. This is fantastic, Joe. Keep them all written down. Whether you ever do anything with it is not a relevant concern. Okay, something I have taken to doing, I'm just going through the stuff now, is a lot of the articles that I've been putting into the newsletter. I'm starting to collaborate, to draw them all together into different booklets. Oh, Robert's going, the wheelchair I'm in is called karma. I hope I can deliver some to those needing it. There is no doubt from my standpoint, Joe, follow your heart. You will absolutely be able to take your thoughts and your experiences, okay, especially with that neat little upbeat attitude of yours, and help other people that you run into that are stuck in a wheelchair. Okay. Now there is no question in my eyes that you're quite well suited for it. Okay. The way I figure it, I had a client that was in a wheelchair that with working with her, we managed to pull her out. In your case, Joe, sad to say, until they get you into a proper prosthetic, getting out of the wheelchair is going to be a little lopsided. Okay. And whatever you do, understand I'm not making fun of the situation. I'm just glad it's not my foot missing. I've already ended up in a wheelchair once because I just couldn't keep moving. Elaine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I do hope your day has been going well. I was just talking to somebody today that I just had a coffee meeting with somebody today that said she's going to start looking to find students so we can get underway with getting the school up and running and generating an income in that fashion. Some of the stuff I'm going to be working with is taking the booklets I've got, turning them into actual courses, okay, and start teaching them online, etc., as well as including the books and what have you. Because this school, a school that teaches people how to think and how to access their higher senses in conjunction with the physical world, with the, if you will, the normal world, is sorely required. Now, am I the best teacher on the planet? Heck, I'm barely a functional teacher, in my opinion. Okay, but there is a massive lack of guidance in this department, and therefore we're starting to work with it. Now, what do we got here? Just because I'm curious, hit refresh on that and see what pops up. Now, I'm just looking at this, and just a quick reminder, guys, if you haven't done so already, if you do like the stream, please do me a favor and give us a thumbs up, and then subscribe to the channel. I finally got things organized in a lot of ways. Where it comes to the stream, I now have a number of different topics I'm looking at. I've got some article lines already laid out to August of 2024 that are going into the newsletter. So we are getting more focused. We are getting more organized in our thought processes. Okay. Sadly, the books I'm in the middle of writing, I've given up trying to say, oh, we'll have it out at this point. I keep running into too many hiccups where the computer is involved. So I'm going back to the old-fashioned method, which does slow things down a little. But when they hit the market, that's when I'll go, here it is. Up, ready, available. Just understand that I am working on a lot of projects all at the same time. And many of them cross-correlate. In your guys' case, let me put this out there for you. If there is a field, if there is a skill, a talent, a tool that you would like to learn how to use, let me know. If you'd be kind enough to let me know, we will see what we can do about adding it to the repertoire. It may already be in the works. I just don't know what all of you are looking for. Okay. And yes, this does include pretty much any field that is not qualified as taught in mainstream. I don't have a degree in anything. Okay, I really don't. Well, that's not true. I've got my graduation degree. I am glad to see you're doing well there, Elaine. I know things are really hectic right now. A lot of people say we're going through a lot of trials and tribulations. What they're not telling you is we're going through a lot of things that are ready to be celebrated. It's just a question of spotting them and focusing on them instead of looking at the downside of it. just an obvious example. Robert here has a major shift happening in his life that is absolutely a bonus. Okay. And, quite honestly, Robert, I could not be happier for you. I mean, it would have been nice if you hadn't lost a leg in the first place. But the fact that you're getting it, that you're literally on track to get it replaced, is absolutely fantastic news. Now, when the one thing I look at here, the reason I look at the paranormal and go, this is all encompassing, is I look at the school. Okay. I look at the school at the school I'm looking and building and going, yes, all of the normal things are necessary. Okay. Will they require certain trades that I just don't have? Absolutely. But I will figure out how to get them all under one roof. In the long run. To start with, I'm simply starting to build now and find different companies, different individuals that are open to doing work. And I know there's a lot of you that have absolutely fantastic hearts. And this is why I say this is a microcosm. Oh, that's the easy part. We are going to be looking at, and I've got a name lined up for it. I will be looking into getting it trademarked. This coming week, I'm going to make a phone call to see how to go about doing that. Already got a name picked out for it. It will start off with me in my own house working either face to face in small groups locally, or setting up courses online. That's going to be an interesting challenge. Okay. So, yes, I am going to have to talk to somebody. There's a couple of you that have already offered. Okay. Not the least. Oh, speaking of which, where is it? Go there. This is the very important little link. Okay. To Dave Scott's show, the Spaced Out Radio. And yes, I know some people have had some interesting takes on that, but okay, I know Dave has offered, I know Nathan's offered, and there's been a couple of other people that have offered to help me get things set up. I will be doing so. Once my estate comes in, you'll find that I'm going to take this whole computer system here and upgrade it to as close to state of the art as I can get. I'm starting to put together a list of what I'm looking for, but the school is starting before that. Okay. From my standpoint, yes, I'm still working with the government. With the government, I've been told that, I've got to hold back until such time as I end up, as I get clearance one way or the other. Well, am I going to follow their lead? Yes. And this is why I said early 2024. The consulting side of it, I'm doing already. Okay. Only I'm going to put this together in a way that is actually thought through completely, or as completely as I can get away with, before kicking the doors wide open. And it still doesn't change a thing about the one aspect. Okay. What's going to happen is I've got an entire way of taking 80% of my net profit, meaning all the costs of running my house and the school get dealt with first. Then 80% of everything after that will be going back to the general public, back to customers, suppliers, providers, contributors, the whole 9 yards. Now I am happy to say that the December newsletter that's already out does have its first contribution from a member Now, bear in mind, the newsletter is free, okay, but it does have a first reader contribution in the December edition. So, am I leaving room for that in future editions? The answer is also yes. Couple of things very important that I'm going to be looking at while we are combining traditional education. Okay, now traditional education boils down to this. You desire to learn math. Here's a public school system. Go get them to teach you math. Here's a private school system. Go and get them to teach you math. I do math in a very different fashion, but I learn through them. Okay, the paranormal, how to accelerate your healing, how to understand how to accelerate your healing, how to understand how different tools work. Okay, now I will tell you, I'm versed in tarot, astrology, universal numerology. Okay, are the three big ones that I work with. I do understand the other ones. Of course, I do work with psychometry, clairvoyance, distance healing. All of these things are things I personally do. So we will be teaching as much of it as we can get away with. But I would be interested in knowing what fields or what areas you guys would be interested in having available to learn. I know the one paranormal school we had in this valley closed its doors about a year and a half ago, which means we don't have one out here, which is why I'm looking at opening the doors. As a matter of fact, I'm not even looking at opening the doors. I'm doing so. I'm just going through the steps with the government to get whatever help I can to start with. But the paranormal boils down to, do you look at the world differently than the average person? If you do, you may well be looking at a paranormal world. Okay, and Philip, that one we can absolutely, I know how to teach that one. Okay, I know people that do it on a regular basis. The neat part about it is, and do understand something very important. Okay, a lot of what I know how to teach, I may not be the best at performing it. But as a buddy of mine told me when I was all of about 20 years old, it's funny because he looked at me and he goes, Keith, I see you pulling off the same thing Xavier did, as in Xavier of the X-Men, teaching people how to utilize abilities that I don't personally have. Okay, for instance, I do know how psychokinetics work, as in what you know as telekinesis or mind over matter. Okay, have I forgotten how to access it? Not exactly, I just haven't taken the time to do so. Okay, but where it comes to remembering astral travel, we start with working on some of the other things, not the least of which is literally distance viewing or clairvoyance. Take your pick. Call it either one, but we start there to get your brain able to sense what you're looking at. You either, Philip? The one thing I did discover is that the more I know, the less I know. Okay, which is kind of a weird way of looking at it, but it does add up. And here's one little thought for you, though, Philip. It's not a question of you can't remember it. Well, if we take the term recall as remember, then yeah, it works. Because your memory is absolutely rock solid. Your data tree for finding it might be a little scrambled. That is one of the ones I learned when I was younger there, Robert. Robert just goes, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. Okay. And ultimately, this is right. On the other one that goes hand in hand with that is whether you believe you can do something or you believe you can't. inevitably you're going to prove yourself correct. And this is why I say, if you're approaching me with the idea of proving that I'm wrong, or conversely proving that I'm right, either way you're likely to prove you're likely to succeed. But then I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to simply remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But it is going to require your guys' assistance. Bizarre question for you there, Philip. In the terms of learning how to astral travel, in your mind, what do you feel is a reasonable price for it, or a reasonable price tag that you feel would put you in the right, in what you consider the right cost? Okay, or the affordable cost, if you will. And free, by the way, doesn't work out well. The reason being, if I don't have, and this applies to any one of you, if you don't have a stable income, you're going to have to drop whatever you're doing and find one. Okay, I just showed somebody the numbers. If they can start setting up clients and students, what we can actually generate based on what I charge. Football, as far as I understand it, the answer is no. Okay, like what they'll end up doing if they do decide they're going to help me, which is going to be an absolute mind-numbing shock. What happens is they will give me a living allowance and walk with me through running the company in order to bring it up on speed and become self-sustaining. They'll do it for 2 to 3 years, which for me will work beautifully. Okay, by then I'll be sitting pretty. But do I have to pay them a percentage aside from taxes? No. And let's face it, everybody has to pay them taxes. Aside from you make too much money, you don't have to pay taxes. I don't know how that works. That doesn't make any sense to me personally. But what I do know is they've got a lot of information that is very beneficial from my standpoint because I don't have the information. That said, even when I'm done with their training, I am starting to go back to school to pick up different courses that I desire to learn. One that I am going to be learning, okay, and I'm not great at a lot of things, but I do desire to start learning. Here I am, 60 years old, without an income. I'm going back to school. Okay. It's just that simple. But I'm going to go back to school with a couple of things in mind that are things I desire to learn for me. Okay. And that's just the way that's going to go. But I am going to take as many people with me on this ride to the top as I can get away with. Okay. Because, there's an old saying that says, it's lonely at the top. Well, to me, the solution to being lonely at the top is take a crowd of people with you. And this is why I say you guys are all going to be invited. Okay. I'm not going to guarantee it's a ride to the top, and in 3 months, you'll be a multimillionaire. Give me a little bit of money, I'll make it turn into, thousands of dollars by the end of the month. Nope, not going to happen. But I will turn around and show people how to make money that when you've got very little, how to make it actually work. And this is based on the fact that I calculated it out the other day, and I've been telling you guys it's been over 100,000 clients. When I calculated it out on a very low end estimate, The numbers worked out to 172,000 clients over the last 37 years. Okay. So, do I have a functional database? Yeah, I really do. Now it's just a question of making it all fit together. But let me ask you this. In your guys' opinion, if you could figure out how to take the paranormal world and mesh it with the normal world in order to get yourself into a better state of mind, into a better station in life, would that catch your attention? Would that interest you? Because this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, is opening that door and showing you how to get there. Not telling you this is what you have to do, but here's an option you may not have looked at. Okay, from your guys' standpoint, does this sound like something that would be viable in your guys' eyes, as in something that other people require, potentially yourselves included? Now, where are we here? We are sitting right there. Where are we? Now we are down to the last few minutes here. Again, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. That would be really appreciated. Okay, I will be back again. Okay, not likely later tonight, but I will be back again. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.